Welcome, Black Hollywood Live fans. On today's Fit Club, we talk the global six-pack craze, can bad news make you sick, and much more with America's Next Top Model alums, Matthew Smith and Keith Carlos. Stay tuned for more.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, Fit Club.
Hey, what's up, Fit Clubbers? We are back. That music you hear in the back is Cardi B featuring Mr. Keith Carlos in the video. What's up, man?
What's going on? How you doing?
Great to have you guys in. Keith Carlos, Matthew Smith.
What's up, man?
Again, my name is Shaka Smith. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong. Where can they find you, Miss Trinidad?
You can find me on everything at TK Trinidad, talking that ish.
And where can they find you guys?
You can find me on Instagram at Keith Carlos and at Matthew Steven Smith.
Well, again, thank you guys for joining us. We got a slate of some great stories, and excited to catch up with you guys post America's Next Top Model. But congratulations on this music video. I love the song.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Cardi B right now is like killing it.
On fire.
Yeah. Awesome. Great to be a part of that little story.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was she pregnant?
She was, but they her designer and stylist Colin Carter, he hit it very well.
And now, did they make you sign an NDA?
I believe, yeah.
Did you know? So you knew she was pregnant?
Of course, everyone knew she was pregnant.
But
Okay,
nobody, there was just rumors. She didn't confirm it.
Really?
Yeah.
But when she was
I knew.
filming.
Well, I work for TMZ, so we was talking about it all the time, and it's like we think, but she didn't confirm it until after the fact that she won. So if I'd known you, I would have.
You,
I
she
thought,
hit it
I
very
thought
well.
though, like it was like very public knowledge from
Me too.
Coachella.
It was before Coachella. We thought she was pregnant back. She went to Carnival in Trinidad. We thought she was pregnant, and back in February, and she didn't confirm it until Coachella.
And when did you guys film the video?
After Coachella?
Probably
about 4 weeks ago now.
Then we all knew then.
Oh,
Yo,
that's a
listen to
quick
this.
turnaround. Wow.
Yeah.
Cardi B
The
is
video
on
came
it.
out 3 weeks, so yeah.
That's amazing.
Vigorous. And they slid
Right.
into his DM. That's how they got him.
Yeah, actually,
really?
yeah.
Look at that. Social media is
It was 11 o'clock when I got the DM. I was
Yeah.
on set 2 hours away from where I live. I want to say at 4 a.m., so no sleep, was there all day.
So you pay attention. You check the notifications. Yeah.
Definitely.
It's gonna lead to a whole nother
That's
question.
another
of DM.
conversation.
You already know me so well. It's just like
was
we're gonna go somewhere else.
Well, our first story up is the global six-pack craze. Apparently, China, which has kind of long praised a thin body, has now kind of moved towards a more muscular body. And a lot of gyms are popping up over there. They're not traditionally about exercise, but that's sort of what's been the leading trend of this year on their different social media sites. Even women's-only gyms have popped up. I've wondered, like, what have you guys seen in terms of kind of going around the world, modeling, and now traveling? Like, you guys have this new show that you guys are doing. What have you guys seen in terms of Western trends when it comes to body image, and how have you guys kind of played with that or thought about it?
Well, I've noticed that the modeling industry is leaning more towards shapelier bodies and muscular fitted bodies. So me, myself, I have that. I have muscles. So it's worked in my favor. And yeah, I really can't complain about it, honestly.
I mean, listen. I heard you said that basically the Asian markets are now catching on to fitness, which scares me, because they are the best at anything they choose to be. So yeah, I think they're going to own that as well pretty soon. That's how I look at it. Good job to you guys. But I don't know. I think it's good. You know, the fact that we're moving in a healthy direction. I don't think there's anything bad about that. I mean, as long as it stays healthy. Obviously, as we all know, fitness can go very unhealthy quickly if you go that way. But yeah, I mean, I think it looks good on girls and women. By the way, like I think that fitness on women, like real fitness on women, looks the sexiest for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest. I think one of the biggest hashtags they had with Magia Jean, which is like their sort of hashtag for six-pack abs, the vest lines, and it's a lot of females are actually kind of pushing this sort of new found ideal of accepting this sort of muscular, more toned body.
What about the males? Are they? Because it's like when you think of stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
It's like you think of the stereotypes as far as what race of male fits into what.
Yeah.
And for instance, they did a study with the whole Tinder, and Tinder, as far as it was black females and Asian males, they're not getting swiped. Like they get swiped the least. So it's just kind of like maybe they want to kind of buck the stereotype, and it's like, no, we're not weak, we're not this, we're not that. And even though you you may think that, now you see it on a physical level.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can never think that, and kind of dispel that stereotype. That can be something as
Yeah,
well.
and I think with social media, they're getting exposed to a lot more of that sort of Western appetite that praises these certain looks. And then when you look through these hashtags, you're seeing a certain type of body. So I think it's cultivating that. Have you guys, like in your career, had to try to like vacillate between being muscular or super thin, especially as like really tall guys in the modeling industry? It might be hard to put on muscle. How has that sort of been? Has that been a concern?
Well, with me coming from a professional sports football background, I have a more muscular and broad frame, and I've tried to lose weight and have that slender look, but my body just won't go there. So it's just I had to accept myself and what I have and just work with it, and make people love what I have. And not, hate myself because I couldn't get, smaller. So
that's funny because one of the women who kind of started this women's gym in Beijing, she noted that part of working out became this acceptance of what people were, because you realize no matter how hard you work out, there are certain limitations. So you actually begin to accept that you can only make yourself the best you.
Right.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But that's actually kind of cool. I like that point. Because
yourself your best you.
There's a hashtag live your best life. You know what I mean? But when I think you can speak to this, Shaka, you begin to love yourself more too when you realize like your shape, your look, like physically, you know, and maybe that's something that's culturally driven, is like people kind of envy someone else's body or their abilities, but I think that people that work out constantly, they kind of start to figure out their best you. You kind of learn to love it. I mean, I think so.
Yeah, I think, consistently over time, you just realize, well, okay, maybe I wanted to look like this guy, but like I'm working my butt off, I'm doing everything right, and I just don't look like that, but I really look amazing. I'm happy with what I do have. And so I think that kind of leads to acceptance of, well, this is my body, and I'm making it the best I can make it.
Yeah, you have to learn to love yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I love that trend is taking off. So we'll see it globally. If it translates to dollars, maybe that's a good market to get into when it comes into fitness.
And especially like if we're talking like culturally, ethic differences, like there are different niches as far as like the physique can look.
Yeah.
So that's also going to be interesting to watch too.
Yeah.
I think.
And then also too on a business side, you might think about this, because I know in Dubai, when it became a big trend, they were actually flying a lot of personal trainers out from North America, Canada, and the U.S. To Dubai. So they might be doing that as well. So just let me know a couple weeks in advance.
Well, and for me as like a vegan, I see that those diets don't rely too much on meat. So I think if you start to see a lot of these very muscular bodies coming out of there, you'll also see people saying, well, meat's not what you need to create that body. They can create it in different ways. So I think that's also another positive potential outcome.
Yeah,
but,
fitness, health, and diet, man, that teaches you a lot about just life. Like truly what you can do, what you can't do. It pushes you. I like working out because you're practicing failure daily. That's why I like it, because you are failing daily, and what it really teaches you is overcoming failure daily, and that's a trait that comes with success, and you're practicing it daily with your physique. So you gotta love the process, not the outcome, kind of thing, and it's like, man, if you can go crush it every single day. I mean, if you're trying to run distances or lift weights that you're not used to, you're gonna fail. And the best part about practicing failure is that if you're gonna go there tomorrow, you already overbeat it, and that kind of sticks with you on like many other platforms, business-wise, you name it. It's just kind of building that mindset. That's why I think fitness does kind of parallel success. Not so much the physique itself, but the mental training that you have to learn to have.
Dang, I wish you were at the gym with me this morning.
Yeah, right.
I needed your motivation. As
You're
I was
gonna
failing,
fail, and you're gonna love it.
Yes, as I was like sweating and failing and not wanting to be here, that message would have helped.
Would have resonated well. Well,
Thank you.
Speaking of positive news, there's some studies out there to show that bad news can actually make you sick, make you ill. And what kind of underlined the study was the fact that we're so accessible to bad news. Between Twitter and our different forms of media, we are constantly inundated with bad news. Whereas before, you might have heard about something that happened, in Hawaii, or something that happened across the world, kind of intermittently. But now it's sort of constantly inundated by it. And it's leading to adrenal fatigue, lack of sleep, anxiety, depression, even chronic stress can lead to headaches, muscle tension, stomach problems as well. So people are having trouble coping. And I guess the takeaway was that really we need to engage in self-care as we are kind of being hit with the problems of the world, but we want to stay engaged and solve them, but we also have to make sure that we're kind of okay too. You guys, especially with role models, and just being role models even before the show that you guys are doing now, and people kind of come to you and you're aware of different, I guess, ailments of the world that people want you to help with. How do you guys take care of yourselves and then decide to pick and choose what you do address?
Dude, I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is something that I constantly argue with my inner family about, my mom, my stepdad. And my stepdad's an ex-police officer, so they're kind of inbred with just like seeking out issues. That's just the way that they are. But I mean, every day I'm like, turn off the news. Turn off that like infectious disease crap. Sorry if I'm not like, but that's just what it is. If it's already happened and it's negative, sure, awareness matters. But you know what doesn't matter? Someone who is like, I mean, you're sitting in your house, you do what you do, and like there's people that are trained and their profession is taking care of issues. You stressing and worrying about it is just nothing but illness. Yeah. It just is. It's just negativity. There's a thing called the string theory. And the string theory basically is all the ways that our body interprets energy, more or less. From taste buds to eyesight to hearing, everything is a frequency. We like sound waves. We like, even atoms in food vibrates at a certain frequency. That's how we dictate the different flavors. Our eyesight is just different perceptions of color waves. A lot of people don't realize that sounds and news, if you yell or cuss at a plant, it dies. If you play classical music to it, it grows faster than it would normally. It's the same exact thing for negativity and news and topics, and there's a reason why it's being pumped through the media like it is. Be a smart person, turn it off. Just turn it off. That's just period. That's just the end of story. Turn it off. I would love for these places to just not exist anymore. And this is exactly why we made role models. Is because there needs to be more there needs to be more anything and everything that's like, yo, we know bad stuff's happening. It always has, and unfortunately, it probably always will. But you know what we're not going to do? We're not going to be weak enough to give it attention. What we're going to do is make you guys look at the stuff that's worth the attention. There's so much good in the world. There is so much good in the world. So why is 90% of the television bad? Because it draws attention. Why is that? Because evil's one. It's taking the forefront, and we have the ability of changing that. We really do. Keith?
Well, you're pretty much ready to fall out.
That's it for Fit Club.
I mean, I feel that one. I'm seriously passionate about that topic. I love that you brought that up, man, because it's just the truth.
Yeah. I think, too, with that, the reason why people watch, and I'm part of the problem sometimes. The reason people watch that is because their lives are not in the position they want it to be. Yeah. So they just want to see something worse going on so they feel better about themselves. Whereas it's like, well, if you want your life to be a certain place, instead of watching TV, then you should go and do it. So it's kind of one of those things, too, where, you have a big amount of the population that, after they finish work at 5, they don't go to the gym, they don't do all that stuff, and they just sit and watch TV.
But how do you then, but you have to be able to know about something to act for it or act against it. So how do you decide how to consume the news in a way that you're going to find out what there is to do that you can be a part of, but without kind of putting yourself in a negative space?
Cognitive reconstruction.
Boom.
Basically changing your thought process.
Yeah.
Because everyone, like news, what people say, what people do, it affects people differently. Yeah. And you have to know yourself first so that you'll know how to address the situation or the news. Yeah. So that's the best way to go about that.
Nice.
I had a friend actually today, because I just started getting weekends off, so I try to schedule all these meetings on the weekend. And a friend, and I wanted to schedule it Sunday for brunch, and she's like, no, Sunday is like my day. I don't do anything social media. I meditate. I go to yoga, and it's just me. And I was like, man, like that. I used to do stuff like that, and it's just essentially like a reset for the week. Yeah. So it's like, you're inundated with social media and all this other stuff, especially if it has something to do with like your life and your work. Just to take that Sunday off, because I mean, if the world were going to end, then you really don't need to know that, because you're just going to go along with the world anyway. So just take that day off to just kind of just concentrate on yourself and actually relax in every way possible. So I mean, that would be a suggestion too.
Yeah, for me, it's been difficult. I try to like not follow the social media accounts that get me that like anxiety, about the world and what's happening. But when I am ready to read that news, I'll go and search for it. I'll do a Twitter search, I'll do a Google search, and I'll say, what's going on here? I've heard, So that's how I try to manage it. But
post more thirst traps.
Yeah, your thirst traps got to make you happy, kind of help you deal with the world. Thirst Trap Thursday. It's got to be alliterative.
There you go.
Our last story we got is alcohol recovery. We process alcohol poorly as we age. They say in your 20s to 30s, obviously your body's more resilient, and then as you get older, it has a lot more trouble handling the alcohol. And those that drink consistently from their 20s to 30s to 60s and 70s actually suffer from anxiety and depression, as opposed to those who might pick it up in their 50s and 60s. For you guys, living this entertainment life and living in sort of the spotlight and the parties and having to deal with that lifestyle while maintaining a sort of healthy and fit life, and then I guess kind of as role models projecting that to the world, how do you guys balance? How do you manage? Have you found it more difficult as you've gotten older?
Well, I personally balance it. Like, I come from a long line of alcoholics, so I've seen what it does firsthand with my immediate family. I've seen, like, my father die, I've seen my grandfather die because of alcoholism. So I know how to take it, how to drink in what's the word?
Moderation.
Moderation. Thank you. How to drink it in moderation,
This is
but
our
also
business
not.
relationship.
Right.
He's like, what's that word?
And I party less as I get older. Your beliefs and everything goes different, and I just do and live differently than I lived in my 20s. I'm 30 now, so yeah.
No, that's funny, actually. Earlier, we were in the car. He's got to go to San Francisco next week for some work. He was like, I got people out there, maybe we could, like, party up. I was, Ellen and my brother, like, yeah, sounds like you. He was like, he laughed because that does not
sit
exist.
at home.
Like, last night we were in bed by, like, 8. Like, and when I say in bed, I was on the couch, and he was upstairs. We were sleeping.
Be
is the
specific.
point. But, yeah, I would agree. I mean, listen, alcohol is not natural.
No.
It's not a natural substance for humans to digest. It's literally poison. So it's just bad for you. It makes sense that it would deteriorate your body. It makes sense that it would cause depression. It makes sense that it would cause anxiety. I mean, like, if we're talking consciously, the idea of alcohol is pretty just ridiculous. Like, I actually was talking last week with someone about how interesting I find it that that the alcohol, when it was illegal, became legal, and, like, people fought for it. I understand that something that you can't have is more desirable.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that concept. However, if someone came up to me and said, hey, do you want to drink the liquid that makes you sick, vomit, act like a fool, and tomorrow you're going to want to kill yourself? I would say, probably not. However, it's extremely, I mean, people say alcohol is socially acceptable. I say alcohol is socially expected. There's a big difference, you know what I mean? No one asks you, like, why you're drinking. People ask you why you're not drinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that's a flawed part of our society, and when we're talking health, it's definitely not good. So yeah.
Why do you think some people can't function in a social setting without alcohol?
Yeah.
Masking agents.
Well, I mean, I think alcohol in the short term is certainly an escape, and I think maybe that's why you saw the prohibition and people, the 20s to 30s, people got super depressed and they had to get alcohol back. But yeah, so
That sounds like every movie on television.
But yeah, just any drug is going to be an escape, and then of course you have to balance it for you. Is it an escape, and how do you utilize that escape? Sometimes an escape can be a form of self-care if you utilize it correctly.
Correct.
But I think a lot of people miss that mark entirely.
Wow, that was brilliant. Man. If you utilize escape successfully, it can be beneficial.
Yeah.
Man, that was brilliant.
Yeah,
That was Shaka Smith. He's going to quote that and patent it. If escape is used professionally and correctly, it can be beneficial.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
The new slogan for alcohol, great.
Yo, hey, talking about commercials for alcohol, I'm not sure what I think it's. Man, I want to say I don't want to mislead it, but it's an alcohol company, and their campaign is like the first Latin American pilot on the commercial, and like the whole commercial is about like success to the Latin American public becoming the first female pilot. But they directly relate it to her drinking their alcohol.
Oh.
That is some mental manipulation.
Wow.
Good job subliminal messaging. You guys are, whoever your PR team is, very brilliant. I would say ethically an F. But, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, people need to pay attention. A lot of actors, too, by the way, actors in A-list anything, rappers, you name it. If you ever, do watch their interviews, they're sober.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot of them are.
They're sober, and they all talk about how you just if you want success, alcohol is just not the way. They openly say that. Problem is that they also promote the heck out of it, and they're movies. if you pay attention to movies, 90% of the scenes they got drinks in their hands.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
And I think for us in the general public, that's where we have to do the work to kind of separate the two. And as parents, you have to do the work to talk to your children to separate the two, because that's always going to exist. You know, as long as there's marketing, there's money out there. There's going to be an element that people promote things that aren't the healthiest because they're getting paid a certain amount of money. And maybe they don't even know either. Maybe they themselves are ignorant to what they're promoting as well.
They're on set, like, I swear they told me that was a glass of water in the movie, but now that I watch it, that was clearly whiskey.
Well, I mean, they say that same thing with the smoking. Like, you see somebody smoking, but they're really not smoking some like type of prop. And same thing with, you know, them having sex and they're not using condoms. It's like that's whole illusion with the movies where, yeah, parents definitely have to talk to their kids and like, this is the scenario. It's all an illusion versus, you know, what's real. So, but the alcohol thing. I mean, I was telling you before we started the show, it's just like I was getting, when life gets stressed, I was telling you, I think the last maybe 2 weeks ago, it's like I would have like a shot of vodka. I went from wine to vodka because it's just like, you know, on a news day, 24-hour cycle, stuff's not even lasting 24 hours. So now you're like trying to cater to all these stories that are happening. And I get home and I'm like, okay, well, I did my workout, so I deserve this drink. And it's like, no, you know, what are you going to do? Why are you having this? And does it need to be during the week? And so what I've decided now is just kind of like it's more of the meditation. So it's like I shut off the TV, I shut off everything, and it's like, okay, now I'm calming down naturally versus taking a shot and just kind of like, okay, this is the...
And how many people do that with even bad food where we work hard and we go, I deserve this. You deserve something that's going to like harm what you just did.
Not every day though. I mean, once in a while.
Someone that I look up to recently told me that people are naturally destructive. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the underlying like truth to like all the things that make no sense that we do. And I think having the insight of yourself to know that you are and why, I don't know if it changes it, but it definitely makes you feel different when you commit the self-destructive acts. Yeah. You know.
And are you guys with role models? How do you kind of institute that to what you guys are doing globally and want to do with these different companies and people?
All right. I mean, listen, role models is not about. It's really just not about us. Yeah. Truth. I mean, we definitely.
I mean, let's give a quick rundown of what it is. Role models.
Okay, so Role Models is a non-scripted television series. Yeah. We partnered with Eon 24/7 out of Denver, as well as Worker Studios, which is a multimedia graphics company. They're amazing as well. Shout out to them. And more or less, Role Models is a non-scripted TV show about social influencers coming together and journeying from place to place, taking sponsorship and advertising dollars from companies and corporations, utilizing the marketing budget, filtering it through a nonprofit. So it's considered a tax write-off, giving 100% of the money to charities. Along the way. I'm getting funny looks over here. What are these guys? Keith's like, this is where he goes off. All right. The premise of the show, guys, is Keith and I both feel, as well as the people we're partnered with, that unfortunately in today's era, with everything being so accessible on social media, that the difference between someone to admire and aspire to be and someone who's famous, the line has really been blurred. Mm-hmm. And kids of this generation, as well as even adults, you know what I mean, are losing sight in the difference of something to aspire to be, someone to aspire to be, a way to act, a role model, versus fame and attention. And it's time for somebody to step up and say, hey, listen, let's just redefine or just show the world again that you can get attention for the right things. And we're not saying that we want attention for the right things. We're saying we're going to find the people who want the attention for the right things. And we're going to give them our platform to share other ways that they can help. I mean, hopefully, honestly, I guess our mission is to make an impact. And it's not us making an impact. It's connecting the companies and corporations that have the ability to make an impact to the people that truly deserve it, while inspiring kids. Hey, this is how you can really get what you want. This is how you can become who you want to be. And this is a way to feel good about it as well.
I love that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And so you guys, when do you guys begin this journey?
We actually already begun it, actually. Yeah, like we just came from feeding the homeless with We Feed the Hungry down at Skid Row. it's just our daily lives, just a lifestyle, and we want to redefine cool because it seems like everyone that does something good or for someone else, they try to, hide or they don't boast about it because they don't want to seem some type of way they're doing it because it's coming from a good place. But why? Yeah. Why not, boast on the good things you do? Yeah. Why isn't it accepted? Why isn't it praised by social media? It's like people exploit themselves to get this admiration, and why?
Yeah, it was sort of, there was that controversy a little bit about Drake's God's Plan, and whether or not that was like being more self-serving than, but I thought the result is beautiful, that he's actually going out and doing this great thing. Why aren't we praising that so that other artists continue to do the same thing? You don't need that $10 million budget for this video. I mean, that can be life-changing for so many people. So I thought that was just a really positive thing, and hopefully other artists kind of take a page from that.
But I think I know some artists do that stuff, and they don't want it to be about them, because they want it to stand on its own. Where people are doing those things, and they're funding it, and they don't want it to be like, the news headline is just about them because it's going to take away from them. So you have artists who do that, but I think with that as well, it's like we have to inspire people to do things on their own as far as charity work, because when you do charity work, it's so life-changing.
Right.
Because like when I went to Kenya, and seeing how they were living in Kenya, like I had my eye on this Mustang. It's like, I want this Mustang. It's like, I just want a car. Like I was back in college. It's like, I just want a car. I'm going to be happy I have a car, because there are people literally, their arms are hanging off and they couldn't go to the hospital. Like, it just really kind of puts things into perspective. Yeah. So I don't know, in America, do you guys do charity work in elementary school or no?
I mean, it depends on who you are as a person, right?
No, well, in my school, we had to do that.
Oh, you were okay. Gotcha,
so
gotcha.
Yeah, so like we did that in elementary school. We did that in high school. So it was just like I've kind of known that stuff.
In high school, you get the community service hours.
Yeah, no, we did that.
One of the guys we were with today at Feeding the Homeless, super, super amazing dude. Like when you meet someone who's full of like soul, you know what I mean? You just know, like right off the bat, you can tell. And this was one of those guys, like honestly, just a good.
Shout out to Styles.
Yeah, he's a good dude. And he was telling us like, I was taking photos and posting about me basically giving this to that person, and people were commenting like, you don't need to take photos, you don't need to, it's not about, people don't want your stuff, they want your time, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, hey, you know what, you're absolutely right. They do want my time, and that, we would love to also have you come. So he gave them the address, and he was expressing to Keith and I, like, we don't really, I don't know how to feel about that when someone leaves those comments. So my question is, why is there that kind of hate towards something like that? But if someone posts a photo of their naked body, is very different. Yeah. And that's where it's twisted. Keith said on the way here, he was like, yo, this is backwards, man. This is backwards, that people feel like it's more accepted to post a photo of your butt and get attention for it than it is to post a photo given to people that could use it. And I understand the modesty aspect of it because people want to know it's coming from the right place in your heart. But I would rather question your modesty than question your ethics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where this needs to shift in the world. I would rather a kid be like, yo, I would rather a kid say, I want to feed the homeless every day for the next however long days, year, in hopes to gain 100,000 Instagram followers, than a kid say, I'm going to go show my naked body forever in hopes that I get 100,000 Instagram followers. If we're going to break it down that way, I would rather a kid do good in hopes for the wrong reasons than do bad in hopes for the wrong reasons.
Now, the comments that he was getting on
I totally agree,
on the comments that he was getting on his Instagram, was it just that one comment compared to all the, because sometimes what we tend to do is we tend to isolate the negative comment, and there might be 200 really good comments, because people who are posting naked too, they get negative, they get hated as well. So it's just like, maybe he shouldn't let that negative comment stop him from posting.
He didn't mention it. My point wasn't so much how he felt about it. My point was more like, in general, people shouldn't be so concerned about like the reason. If you're doing like,
but it's facts though. It's facts. If I actually go on my Instagram right now and post a picture of me in my drawers, it would get Lord knows how much. But if I post me feeding the homeless,
not so much.
Somebody on the live chat said that bald brother is fine. Like,
shout out to you, baby. Shout out to you.
Serena,
I got a little bit of hair here. You know what I'm saying? I'm struggling, but
Senator Q26.
Your opening joke was how my hair looked.
So I mean,
Serenity.
I definitely I agree with that, but it's just like sometimes you just can't give
Right.
You know, you can't give energy
Yeah.
to that, because we are in that society where social media and Instagram and all that thing is a thing. I agree with you. I'd rather people, you know, use their minds and, you know, take care of one another than say, I want to get famous so I can, you know, buy this, and then not use that money to help others.
But,
You know what I'm saying?
But I think that's why that Drake video is so good, because maybe that inspires people to do more of that stuff.
Drake's Canadian, so
But
I mean,
But especially for a lot of these rappers, though, that they do promote just like whether it's smoking weed or drinking a lot, or you know, several women at night. You know, why not also promote? I also do some good stuff too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So like, if you're gonna use your platform for whatever,
I think
also
that
include the good stuff,
anybody
too.
can agree. Anybody can agree that somewhere along the line, it's twisted. Like, we can argue about or disagree on like the where and the when and the how, but what is right now is not right.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
I think for the first time we all have a power to make it shift.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we had that power before, just to create content, to be able to talk about it openly, and to have the mediums to get the word out there. I don't think we had it before.
I personally think the change will begin with musicians, because they have the most influence on everyone.
Yeah.
That's who we listen to. They control our moods. They control everything. So when they start, you know, rapping or singing about more positivity, that's what's going to follow.
And I think it's happening to a degree.
I
As
do
a lot of the
agree,
ones
yeah.
that like Jay-Z, as they get older,
Yeah.
and they're getting more enlightened as people, and they start to put some of that messages into their music. Because you know, a lot of that stuff is just what they're living. You know,
But
and
it's
so as they
kinda-
live differently, they start to talk differently.
Yeah, a lot of the younger guys now who are like leading the industry
Yeah.
rap about, you know, Molly Percocets, and
Yeah.
they're all like
Yeah.
cokeheads and
But a lot- but some
But
of them-
again, I
Lean
bet you
in.
if you had a one-on-one conversation with them, they would talk about what they really care about, right? And it
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be Molly Percocet and women. It would be what they actually.
Yeah,
Veganism,
yeah,
a lot of them are
yeah.
going
Yeah, they're singing about Molly
True.
Percocet and whatever, and women. And I
Yeah.
guarantee if you said, why are you singing about Molly Percocet and women, right now I'm having a real conversation with you, and that's not you haven't mentioned it once. Why? They say, because this is what sells. That's the problem. That's exactly what we're trying to change. Because the generation that's buying records, whatever, they are concerned about Molly, women, that's wrong. What's wrong is that the evil in the world sells. Someone's got to switch it. And why? It's because it's admired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What the topic is and what's cool, that they don't have to be what it is.
Yeah.
But
You
I do
know?
think for the first time we're getting to talk to people behind the music and find out what they really believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Like before we didn't get that, we just got the music, and
Yeah.
so you just thought the music was representative of them. And now you get to hear, oh no, this is my marketing strategy.
Yeah.
This is because this is what I think sells. We didn't actually get those answers before, so
Yeah.
I think that even kind of helps push forward the conversation.
I would agree. I definitely think there's a shift in the world. And I think from what Keith and I, people we've talked to, Keith, you can chime in on this. I do think that overall there is kind of a natural shift occurring in the population. I think that everyone has gotten to a point where like they're kind of understanding what we're talking about right now. I think everyone on their own level is like, yo, this is not cool. You know, I would say that.
Nah, I totally agree. I definitely totally agree.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, you could take, for example, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Like, his stuff, he's a complete troll. However, when he went over to, I believe it was Puerto Rico, and he was handing out money.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, people are doing that. And I think, I can't remember, it was actually Jay-Z. He was doing an interview with David Letterman. And he was talking about, you know, the current president that we have now. And he's like, the good thing about the president that we have now, it's actually forcing us to think what we want for our lives and actually put that into action.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we can no longer be asleep and just, you know, let everybody else take care of the work, because, you know, if your family's not being taken care of or fed, then it's up to you to do that.
And
So,
even in this age, I mean, look at Kim Kardashian just secured a clemency, or helped secure a clemency for Alice Johnson with Trump, because to me, she kind of changed the metrics for him in terms of looking good in social media and using her influence in that way. So even someone like Trump, once you change the motivations, then you can maybe get the result that you want. I don't think we have
she's
it.
not going to get the
Was it
result
a
she
media's
wants.
time?
She's not going to
No,
get the
no,
result
but I'm saying the fact that she got her agency allowed that to happen. So at the end of the day, Alice Johnson's going to get to walk free because of the
You
power
think?
that Kim. Yeah, he's granting the clemency. So the power that Kim Kardashian had, it was granted. Yeah. So the power that she's got. To
When did he
influence
grant it?
This morning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I missed that one.
So, I mean, it boggles the mind. But at the same time, look at this result as a result of, I think she saw it on Mike. She was having to watch some sort of social
she's-
media,
well,
and she got wind of the story. So
Yeah.
that's just the power of connecting stories that we've never had before.
We're going to have Kanye as president in 2024.
Oh,
I don't know about
my
that, but
I just...
Lord help us.
I just thought it was an interesting anecdote, because I don't think you would ever have this situation, you know, be possible before a time like today.
And which is interesting
So-
too, because they wanted. This is going so off, but Meek Mills was supposed to go and meet President Trump, and they talked him down from it to talk about prison reform. So I'm wondering if that would have changed, like if he actually had that conversation, that would have made him understand, or it would have been the result. Because everybody's thinking,
Made who understand? Trump?
President Trump.
No.
understand.
I think his metrics. I think this was just a good thing for a solid win for him. I don't think it translated anything to do with
Well,
the feelings.
that's what
of
I'm saying.
what
Would
he
it be a solid win for him? You have all these people that are in jail for marijuana, and marijuana in a lot of places is legal.
Yeah.
So would that be a solid win for him?
That's crazy. That's what. Okay, so thinking from like my business side minded, like if I was, this is how I think about everything. By the way, if I was like in that position, Kim Kardashian or Trump, and here's this situation, right? I would think this is immediate gratification situation that turns real bad real fast. Like it looks good for a day, looks horrible for a year. And the reason why I say that is because so now someone that Kim Kardashian had a heartwarming experience with is free. What about the millions of other people that are in the prison system that are there for just as, that have just as much right to say they shouldn't be there as this woman that doesn't rub elbows with Kim Kardashian? If I had a family member that was in prison right now.
She didn't rub elbows.
Whatever. I mean, the one in the billion, you know what I mean, that's in
She
prison.
came about the story. She could have came about somebody else's story.
It doesn't matter. There's so many people out there that's like, yo, so how do I get in touch? So Kim K's our way out. That's so rough.
No, but
You know what I mean?
I do think you have to say she heard about a story about a woman who had no shot, who had been denied clemency so many times. If she didn't hear that story and feel a type of way about it, this woman's life doesn't get ever rectified.
But he's
She
saying
remains
that
the
there's
rest
a lot
her
of
life.
people
But it's
that
not about the woman. It's about the Kim K
No.
could walk into the presidential office and give a case to that now our president of the United States.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though?
For individual, absolutely a good thing.
Yeah.
But what about, like she was bringing up, the people that are in prison for marijuana when half our country now, marijuana's legal?
Well,
So what celebrity is going to step up now and go talk to Trump to get those guys out? You know what I mean?
What I do say is that I don't think that that's going to be something that he wants to touch in terms of the other motivations financially for prisons and what have you. But he's going to be to some degree held on account that he let this woman go, but he's not going further to kind of make sure
to get that
legislatively
Nobel Peace
that
Prize.
policy is reflected in our legislation. So I think he'll be held to account for it. I don't think he'll care, but I think he'll be held to account. So I think it does help push forward the conversation that this woman was let go.
Yeah.
Do you think he paid her?
Paid-
Or she paid him?
No. I
Kim
think
K paid the Trump?
No,
Dude,
not at all.
Trump literally denied the presidential income. Like he doesn't get.
No,
paid
I think the
anymore.
motivation was definitely for the good PR. He can now say he's got a win here. Barack Obama had denied the woman's clemency 3 times. So now, Trump's real legacy is to be anti-Obama. And so I think part of this is saying, okay, Obama didn't let her go, but I did. you know?
So now the black vote went from 11% to 21%. Now it's going to be over 50.
Yeah, but guys,
in his mind.
The point is that a woman got let out of prison
Yeah.
because she had Kim K behind her. I don't care. That
But we
is
can see
so like.
No, but the positivity in that is
What does that mean?
But is there a positivity in that an ordinary citizen can actually affect the president's?
So if I went to jail for the wrong reasons and I was locked up and my dad tried super hard to get me out and he can't get a meeting with Trump, like that's what I'm asking.
Here's the
So
thing,
now
but if your
celebrities
dad
can get people out of jail.
No, but your dad could do an interview that might go viral. That's a possibility now. Whereas before he had no shot. But now he might be able to reach someone that can make your story viral enough that the President of the United States would want to invite Kim to talk about it.
Man, I mean, this
I
is
think
just
it's
lit
a little
wildfire.
It's
This
a
whole
wild, wild
thing
west.
has lit a wildfire. I mean,
That's
I
what
guess
they're going for.
I would love to know Kim K's fan base may increase from prison at this point. Everyone's like, hey, Kim, let me tell you my story.
Right.
Oh, boy.
But hey, it's another shot for him to get out. Hey, it might be good.
I mean, listen, I think overall the whole thing is good. I'd love to see this woman free again. It's a heartstring, like as far as the outcome is concerned, it's really good. Policy-wise, how it went down, who did it. This is just the beginning of the end. This is a horrible movie. Like as far as like story, actually, you know what? I should feel like I should license this.
Right, I'm
story. This is
remaining
gonna be a
optimistic.
really funny documentary down the line. I can promise you that.
I'm remaining optimistic. My last question for you guys. You're doing this in conjunction with your nonprofit, correct? Make It
Yes,
Happen?
Make It Happen.
What was the inspiration for that?
Well, I come from a treacherous environment, and Make It Happen was a term that one of my coaches always used, and something that I always held myself accountable to, is to make things happen even when they're at their worst. And that pretty much was my childhood, and that's what pushed me from a tough place, and I wanted to do something with that. I have a best friend who's a brother to me, passed away last November in a car accident, and we actually spoke about the infrastructure of Make It Happen, and I wanted to make sure that I carried it through for him, for myself, for us, for my community back home. So I wanted to make it happen, and that's what I did. So if you put Make It Happen together, it also says Keith. So it was just like a given that I had to make it happen.
So where can they find Make It Happen? Where can they find role models where people can support this and really kind of be plugged into what you guys are doing?
On Instagram, we're pretty much going to be posting our whole journey, our whole tour, the whole movement. You could catch us on Instagram at Role Models WW. That's at Role Models WW. There you will see Make It Happen Instagram, which is Make It Happen 203.
Nice.
But I want to ask you guys a question real quick, and this is kind of a part of what we're doing. What is your definition of a role model? Why? And then who is someone in your life that is a role model to you, and why?
Oh, well, my mom, she's a real dog. I mean, I can't even. I ran away from home when I was 17, and she still was backing me. You know, she as a mother, that's just not, it ripped her heart out, but she knew me and she knew my vision and she still stood behind me. Even to this point where it's just kind of like she's in Canada and she's missing her child and all this other stuff, and it's just like she always believes in the dream, and that's why I work so hard to take care of her. You know, that's why I do what I do. So I believe, you have a couple types of different role models, but to me, seeing her work for the government, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, walking to work sometimes, there was times where, the points in my life where she didn't have a car, she would take us everywhere on the subway, which is not easy for 2 kids under 5. I mean, she is always, I don't care, you can have the most money in the world and do all this other stuff, but the fact that she did all that stuff and then also moved to Canada when she was 17 and managed to make a life for herself.
So resilience, hard work, caring, heart.
She made it happen.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Without her and her work ethics, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
Cool. Like that. Thanks for opening up about that too. That's what we wanted. That's what we're. Hey, thanks, Mom.
We got love on the
What's her name? What's your mom's name?
Cora Bell.
Cora Bell.
Yes.
Shout out to you. You're a role model. I love that. Shaka?
Well, following that, Mom,
Sorry.
I love you. No, I mean, for me, I guess a role model is someone that, I guess, sacrifices. I guess that's what it comes down to, kind of knowing what you could have, but deciding that you're going to have less for the benefit of somebody else. So that, to me, is a role model. And I think you can be a role model in an instance, or you can be a role model for life. So I don't think it's ever confined to who you are in any one moment or any one given moment. So I think that's important to notice, is that people can be role models for a time or a day or a topic, but that, we look to them for what they are doing and not necessarily who they are in the totality of it all.
Part-time role models.
So who's your role model for you, man?
Obviously my mom's been a huge role model for me. That's just been a personal role model. But there's so many people publicly, like when you get to a Barack Obama, but you look at the life that he's led. For me, you get to a Hillary Clinton who in the face of being vilified still kind of persists. That idea of persisting for the benefit of others when you could go away and kind of relax. So I think we have so many out there and we look to them for different things. But yeah, for me, it's just about looking to them for what they represent in that moment, in that time.
That's cool. That's actually really cool. So
Bill Cosby pre the scandal.
I mean, he was impactful. I think what has to do is we have a selfish nature and we also have a nature where we want to help people. And depending on who the person is, sometimes it's 98% selfish, and you might have that 2% where you just help your kids. Yeah. And realizing that people are watching you no matter when you think they're not watching you. So being selfless. And also realizing there's part of your aspects where there is the selfish aspect. If you want to go and have a nice meal, you can't. You can afford that, all this other stuff. So kind of realizing that and not being selfless because for the gram or forever. That's what's in your heart. Yeah. That's, those are the type of role models that you keep there. And they're a lot more than, what we think of.
Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome, guys.
Matt.
Yeah.
I never asked you this, but what is who's your role model?
I mean, so cliche. I mean, my mom is definitely my. My mom's my. No question about it. My mom's my role model. She's Keith got to meet her recently. She's she's been a teacher for 28 years.
Nice.
But she is the most business-oriented, smart. She's a chef, right? She's got all these masters and all these topics, but she teaches middle school. Because that's what she loves to do. I mean, being able to go to a restaurant and kids be like, hey, are you Miss Smith-Tomzak's son? That's the coolest thing in the world. Like, your favorite teacher is my mom. That is rock star, you know? Like, she's the coolest woman. And the reason why she's a role model for me is because she showed me my whole life. I mean, we grew up, I never lived in a house more than a year in my life up until she got remarried, like evictions. It was rough. Never once was I hungry. Never once was I, like, worried about if she loved me. So I guess the traits that I view a role model as is someone who, I think Shaka nailed it, they're selfless. But when I find a real special role model, what it is that they're selfless, but that's their happy place. Mm-hmm. That's crazy to me. I mean, that almost like makes me want to cry because you are meeting someone who is a role model because they love what it even entails. Like, when you meet that person, they've got a radiance about them. Yeah. It's like they are fulfilled for no other reason that they are living their dream to be able to put you before them. Yeah. That is the coolest thing ever. So my mom is a role model to me. If we're going to go someone outside the box that's not within my immediate family, listen, I think that Arnold Schwarzenegger is cool. I mean, he came from another country, right? So he was behind the block on that one. He talks about his work ethic physically, and I don't know if you guys have watched these interviews, but the way he explains it makes you inspired.
Oh, yeah. His mindset's just like insane.
He literally was like, I get to get off 3 times a day working out, post-workout. He says that, like, quote, which I think is hilarious that he puts it in that perspective because it's like, wow, maybe I want to do that.
Yeah, he hit a mental conviction that, he shouldn't have had, but he did.
Yeah, he was honest about it, and it was in the right direction, too. What he's achieved. I think the reason why, characteristically why he's a role model is not what he's achieved, but because it's very clear that he achieved it because of the way he set his brain. Mm-hmm. And I think it was that, like, practice failure daily, get your mind right, deny yourself, right? Denying yourself, I think, is a big thing because everyone has that side of them, what they want, and then what they really want. And usually what you really want is like the best, and what you want is like the distractions. So denying yourself, I think, is a role model trait.
Yeah, and he had that scandal. But
that's what I'm saying.
They say if you follow someone for 500 miles, you'll be able to write a ticket.
Well, so. It's just, you realize that everybody is flawed, and then when you're looking at role models, or if you are a role model, just to realize that we're all human. Yeah. Everybody goes to the bathroom. Everybody and saying everybody has to sleep at one point. So it's just like realizing those flaws, and they're what they did overall kind of takes over from the flaws, then I'm willing to, it's like I can go.
Everyone has an opportunity to change.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
Keith, we're going to finish it up. I want to hear his because I'm going to put you on the spot too, bro.
Well,
make it happen.
Of course, my mother, because she, my mom was given 15 years.
Shout out to the moms out there.
Thank you. My mom was given 15 years in jail. She did 8. She held responsibility for what she did, and she did what she did to take care of her families, and I can only respect that. And she didn't, tell on anybody. She just took it to the chin. Yeah. So I took that right there is admirable for myself and in my community. The people I looked up to growing up was my uncles who were in and out of jail. They taught me the fitness aspect of life. Always wanted to be big and stronger like them. But like my big homies from my block, Quest, Slim, shout out to 9 Trey. Yeah. But I learned a lot from them. They kept me out of the streets for the most part. They knew I was great at football, so they strayed me some away from the gangbang and etc. And they kept me on the straight and narrow. So yeah, shout out to them. They were my role models.
Yeah, mom's a community. I mean, that's really what it's really all about. But we want to thank you guys for joining us. We're looking forward for your updates on role models. Want to hear what you guys are up to. Come back. We love this.
All right.
So again, guys, my name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
Matthew Smith. Y'all just find us at Role Models WW.
At Keith Carlos on Instagram. Follow me so you never be lost. You don't steal it. Come on.
You can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Also talking ish on TMZ, Women's Pro Wrestling Weekly, Total Bellas, blah 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 blah. You catch it all, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff at TK Trinidad.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram me @KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.